All right, let's dive right into this explainer and demystify the ultimate locked room mystery. We are talking about the one biological sequence absolutely every single one of us is going to eventually experience. What actually happens when we die? For the longest time, this was a subject strictly reserved for philosophy and religion, but recently, science has stepped up. We now have incredible, concrete insights into the astonishing sequence of events our bodies and brains go through in those final moments.
But before we get into all that profound science, we really have to ask this central question to anchor our journey today. What actually happens when we die? Is it just a single moment, like a flip of a switch? Well, science tells us it is incredibly complex, deeply layered, and honestly, surprisingly active.
To make sense of this, we'll follow a clear scientific roadmap. First, the physical breakdown. Second, brain activity after death. Third, the brain's death cocktail. And finally, near-death experiences.
Section 1. The physical breakdown. The body's shutdown. Let's start with our baseline reality and look at the actual physical steps the body takes when vital functions cease. First things first, we've got to draw a hard line between clinical death and biological death. When doctors talk about clinical death, they're talking about an instantaneous moment. Organ failure happens, the heart completely stops beating, and blood flow to the brain and lungs just halts. But biological death, that is a whole different story. That's not instantaneous at all. It's a gradual, unfolding process where the body's tissues actually begin to break down over time.
And this biological timeline is surprisingly active. In the first few minutes to hours, we hit a phase called autolysis. Basically, carbon dioxide builds up and creates an acidic environment, which causes the very enzymes that used to maintain your cells to start digesting them from the inside out. Then, somewhere between 2 to 12 hours, rigor mortis sets in. The body's energy stores completely deplete and the muscles stiffen up entirely. After a few days, putrefaction takes over as bacteria break down the tissues, eventually leading to skeletonization over weeks.
Section 2. Brain activity, the mind's final act. Let's zoom in from the macro level of the still body down to the micro level of the brain, where things get, well, pretty wild. Here's the crucial mind-bending point. Clinical death is not just an off switch. The body actually enters a series of steps that scientists literally call active dying, where certain chemicals are released and neuron activity spikes. Logically, you'd think that without blood flow, the brain would just go completely dark, right? Nope, it actually fires up in an extraordinary way.
Groundbreaking studies have proven that even without oxygen, the brain produces these synchronized oscillations that look exactly like a heightened state of consciousness. For instance, in a 2013 study, scientists recorded a massive increase in neural activity in rats just 30 seconds after cardiac arrest. And if you're thinking, well, that's just rats, get this. A remarkable 2022 study observed these exact same spikes in brain activity in a human patient after his heart had completely stopped. It strongly suggests the brain is still actively processing information even after a person is declared clinically dead.
Section 3. The death cocktail, a neurochemical storm. Which brings us to the actual mechanism driving this incredible surge in the brain.
What's powering these profound conscious experiences? It boils down to a very potent mix of 4 major chemicals: endorphins, serotonin, DMT, and adrenaline. They all work together to deeply, deeply shape our final moments. Let's look at endorphins first. This is basically nature's way of cushioning the blow. As the body's natural opioids, they get released in absolutely massive quantities during extreme physical trauma. And this perfectly explains that remarkably peaceful, pain-free state so many revived patients talk about, even if they suffered severe physical injuries right before their heart stopped. It's the brain flooding the system to induce calm and euphoria.
Next up is serotonin. Now this is fascinating because it grounds deeply spiritual imagery in actual, physical brain chemistry. Usually, serotonin just regulates our everyday mood, but during death, there is a massive surge of it, triggering a severely altered state of consciousness. Honestly, it's the exact same underlying mechanism as hallucinogens like psilocybin, magic mushrooms. It causes highly vivid auditory and visual hallucinations.
And then we have DMT. This is an incredibly powerful, naturally occurring psychedelic. It's produced in small amounts right in the human brain, specifically in the pineal gland. Scientists hypothesize a massive release of DMT occurs during death. The known effects of DMT? Profound alterations in perception, overwhelming feelings of transcendence, and even encountering mystical entities. It's almost a perfect mirror for the otherworldly accounts we constantly hear from near-death survivors.
To top it all off, there is an intense adrenaline surge. The sheer, extreme physical stress of dying triggers a massive release of adrenaline and noradrenaline. These are the hormones responsible for our fight-or-flight response, drastically increasing heart rate and blood pressure in a final, desperate attempt to keep you alive. This particular surge forces your brain into overdrive, leading to incredibly rapid information processing. That cliché of your life flashing before your eyes, this is the chemical responsible for that rapid life review.
Section 4. Near-death experiences, the final journey. Now let's connect all this complex neurochemistry directly to the ultimate human experience.
Near-death experiences, or NDEs, are reported by people who've been declared clinically dead or extremely close to it, and then somehow revived. You've probably heard the stories: profound feelings of peace, out-of-body sensations, moving toward a bright light, or seeing loved ones who have already passed. For a long time, these were considered purely anecdotal or deeply spiritual, but now, we can clearly see how these mystical phenomena are practically anchored in the biological cocktail we just walked through.
And get this, it is not just some rare anomaly. In a landmark 2014 study published in the journal Resuscitation, Dr. Sam Parnia and his team found that a staggering 40% of revived cardiac arrest patients reported some form of awareness while they were clinically dead. 40%. Some could even recall incredibly specific, accurate details about their physical surroundings in the hospital room, all while their hearts were completely flatlined.
So how does science explain this wild phenomenon? Well, researchers hypothesize that this vivid awareness is simply the brain desperately trying to make sense of the fact that it's shutting down. As the heart stops, hypoxia, which is a total lack of oxygen, sets in, directly triggering vivid hallucinations. Meanwhile, ischemia, a severe lack of blood flow, is known to trigger intense out-of-body sensations. You combine all of that with the DMT, the serotonin, and the endorphins, and the brain basically orchestrates a spectacular, surreal, final reality for itself.
So, does the mind retain consciousness even after the heart has stopped? While science certainly hasn't proven the existence of an afterlife, this timeline leaves us with a profound, lingering mystery regarding the sheer resilience of human consciousness. I mean, if a dying brain can spark a completely transcendent reality in the total absence of a heartbeat, it really forces us to rethink what it truly means to be conscious. What do you think happens in those final moments? Stay curious, everyone.